So imagine you drive hours and hours to go visit your loved one in jail or prison, only to get there and be turned back for whatever reason. This can be disappointing, overwhelming, and absolutely heartbreaking, but visitation in jail or prison is vital in order to maintain connected to the person you love and care about the most. Hi, my name is Jason, and I'm the founder and CEO of Behind Bars Blueprint, an organization designed and intended to help individuals and their families navigate the incarceration process from beginning to end and even beyond. In today's video, we're going to be going over 5 essential tips that you need to know about prison visitation that no one tells you. Let's get started. So prison visitation tip number 1 is know the rules inside and out. That means getting on the website of the facility that you're going to go to and researching what the visitation requirements are. Odds are you're going to be allowed to take very little in with you, if anything. No cell phones, no purses, things like that. A lot of times facilities will offer lockers or places for you to securely store your personal belongings before you go in, but you want to make sure that you don't try to come in with something that looks like contraband, something like you might forget that you've got cigarettes or a can of chewing tobacco or something with you that the facility itself would strictly forbid coming in, and you don't want to have that even on your person. So what do? Best thing to do with a lot of that stuff is leave it in your car. Learn what you're allowed to take in and just leave it in your vehicle before you ever walk in. This also makes sure that the registration process for you getting in to see your loved one goes as smoothly as possible. It makes sure that you don't have to go through unnecessary additional searches or anything that sets off any red flags to the facility, anything like that. So you want to make sure that you get on their website and that you review the rules and know them inside and out before you even get to your visit. So prison tip visitation number 2 is if you are bringing kids, prepare them for the experience. That means you don't want to go into a lot of detail. You want to let them know what to expect and let them know that there are certain rules that they may or may not understand. But let them know that these are the rules that have to be in place and have to be abided by in order for you to have the best visitation with your loved one. You don't have to go into great detail, like I said, but you have to let them know, hey, there's things that we can and can't do, and it's just important, and it's at this facility, and this is the requirements that they have, and this is what we have to do in order to have the best visitation with our loved one or significant other as possible. You can give them something to do. A lot of times there's places where they can color, they can draw, things like that, but explain it to them. Tell them that it's okay to be nervous, it's okay to be a little scared, but they'll get used to it after a time, and that this is completely normal, and this is what needs to be done if you want to make time to visit the person that you love and care about. But you want to make sure that if there are kids involved, that you do your best to explain what's going on without giving them too much information that overwhelms them in the process. Which brings us to prison visitation tip number 3, and that is prepare for the emotional highs and lows. Absolutely, this is going to happen if you're going to have any type of extended visitation at a jail or a prison. You're going to go in sometimes and you're going to be, hey, in a really good mood, and you're excited. Hey, I get to see the person that I care about, and they're going to feel the same way. And then you're going to have times where maybe something's going on in your personal life at home, or maybe they're having something going on inside that you know nothing about, and you have to be able to cope with that. And we go through coping strategies in our program, and if you want to learn more about that, you can go to www.behindbarsblueprint.com, where we have a whole series of workbooks and resources that you can tap into that gives you a lot of different coping techniques, strategies, ways to make your visit the best it can possibly be, ways to handle these highs and lows that are going to come. And a lot of times they're going to come when you least expect it. A prime example of that is there may be something that happens inside with your loved one, and you know nothing about this. You have not had communication with your loved one between when this incident took place and when you have your visitation. So you may come in and, hey, you're all excited, you're happy, and you should be. But your loved one may come in and just seem disconnected, maybe disinterested. Make sure that you don't take that personally. Try to get to the bottom of that and be patient with that. Be understanding, hey, something clearly took place. They just might be having a bad day. Maybe they just miss home. It can be anything, but make sure that when you go in, you're flexible with your emotions and your expectations of what the visit looks like, and you're going to do a lot better. So prison tip number 3 rolls into prison tip number 4, and that is you want to make sure that you maximize your time together at the visit. Sometimes visits can be short. A lot of times they're based on the wait list, so how many people are there. I always encourage people, if you have a visitation that day with your loved one, get there early. Try to be one of the first people there. That's going to give you the best chance for the most time. A lot of people will try to come mid to late afternoon, starting around noon, and if you get there early, you're going to increase your chances of maximizing that time together, because most facilities don't have a set guaranteed time that you're going to get. Sometimes it may be a half an hour, sometimes you may get 2 hours. It just depends a lot of times on how many people are waiting to get in to see their loved ones as well. So you want to make sure that you maximize your time together. And what does that look like? Well, have a set of questions ready to go, positive questions. Hey, what are you working on? How have you grown this week? What's some things we can work on together? Positive news from back home. And this is a little bit of a caveat that I need to put in there. You may think that something that happens back home is exciting, is a happy thing, happy news, and to you it is, but it may remind your loved one of the outside. It may remind them of back home. And so sometimes that's kind of back into the emotional highs and lows, right? You have to make sure that if you see this and it's, hey, boy, that wasn't the response I was expecting, don't take it personally. Don't get offended, because you want to maximize your time. So, for example, in that situation, what you could do is be honest. Have an open, honest conversation. Say, hey, I bring this stuff up because I think it helps you, and I'm excited about it, and I want to share it with you because it sounds like good news. But is that hurting you? Is that not helping you in this process? Because that's what your visitation is for. It's to help the both of you maintain connection and get through this whole incarceration process together. So hey, just ask if there's something that, boy, you're not understanding there. Maybe that your loved one is acting a little strange, a little off. Ask them, hey, am I doing something, or is there something that I'm intend for good that's not helping out very much? Because they may not tell you, because they may think, well, that is good news, that should be good news, but for some reason that doesn't make me very happy. So just have open and honest conversations, and you can do that by being intentional. So you want to make sure that you're maximizing your time together, and you do that by having honest conversations, preparing some questions before you go in. Make sure that you try to keep it on a positive, upbeat note. And the final point on this is sometimes there are, very serious topics that you need to discuss. You never know what might come up. It might be money. It might be rent. It could be groceries. It could be anything, guys. But you want to make sure that the majority of the time you're trying to focus as positive as you can on as many things that are going to be uplifting and encouraging to your loved one while they're incarcerated. Which brings us to tip number 5, and this is probably one of the most crucial parts of this entire video is visits are great. Visits are the number one way that you're going to be able to stay connected to your loved one. And that is absolutely essential. But the time between the visits is also critical. You need to be intentional about what are you doing between this visit and this visit. And then what does that look like? Well, like I said, in previous videos and in our workbook series and our online courses, we go over that. That means having a scheduled phone call, having a scheduled writing system, having a scheduled visitation system. Try to get as much routine and pattern as possible. Now, again, prisons can be unpredictable. There's lockdowns. Sometimes there's just people aren't available. Sometimes your visits get cut short. Sometimes the mail takes longer to get through. It could be any number of things, right? The phone system could be out for that day. So you're scheduled to call on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and for whatever reason, the phones are down Thursday. Just have a contingency plan. Make sure you say, hey, you know what? If we're not able to communicate, everything's fine. Let's just stick to the communication schedule. So, for example, hey, we can't communicate Thursday, and that's our normal phone call day. So I'm going to try the next day. So we're going to make that Friday, something like that. But you want to make sure that the time in between the visits you're using to build on the visits. And I hope that makes sense. So what you do in the visits, that's the connection. Again, you may have a face-to-face contact visit, meaning, you can typically you can hug, maybe give a goodbye kiss. There's not a lot of contact, physical contact allowed in most visitations, but your visits may be through glass. It may be through a phone and glass. Still very critical, because your loved one is just on the other side of that. And that's as close as you're going to physically get, which is what we as human beings are designed to do. We're designed for interaction. So you want to take advantage of every opportunity you can to get as close to that interaction as possible and the strength of that interaction. So you're going to do your visits, obviously, but then you want to make sure that during the time between visits, you're building on those visits, and not the visits aren't just chunked up in individual sessions, if that makes sense. So make sure that you're maximizing your time. Make sure that you are, when you're at the visit, and then make sure that the time between the visits is also maximized so you get the most out of every in-person visit and non-in-person visit. And once again, that wraps it up for us, guys. The 5 essential tips that you need to know about jail or prison visitation that very few people will tell you about, but it's absolutely critical that you maintain. It is the number one way you're going to stay connected with your loved one and maintain the strength of that relationship. Once again, you can find more resources at www.behindbarsblueprint.com. As you can see over my shoulder here, we've got a series of workbooks. This is just 2 of them. Whatever phase of the incarceration process you or your loved one is in, we've got a book for that. We've got an online course for that. We've got an email that you can send questions to, or concerns, or topics that you want me to discuss. That's behindbarsblueprint@gmail.com. You can call us directly, 260-228-2626. And you can leave comments down below. And I'd appreciate if you would like, subscribe, and leave that comment. And hey, we like this. I don't like this. I'd like to hear more about this. Hey, can you go into more detail on something? Whatever you want to put. I read all the comments. I respond to all the comments. So guys, this will wrap it up for this video today. I hope it's been helpful for you. I hope you found something that's useful. And until next time, keep the faith. Stay strong.